guys, thanks for joining us. We're going to be making a cylinder today. Before I sit down at the wheel, I want to make sure I've got my sponge, a rib, and a wooden tool, and a bucket of water. I've got my ball in a nice sphere all ready to start. I'm going to set it in the middle, tap, tap, tap. 3 taps seems to be the good sweet spot amount. I'm going to start with water on my ball so that it slides nicely underneath my hand. With one sponge, I'm going to hold it in this hand so I can squeeze it. I'm going to be using the side of my palm and the sides of this palm as well to compress it down and then pull it up. I'm getting my body weight over the clay. So I've got it down into a nice pancake. I'm going to use the sponge and I'm going to cone it up. And then I'm going to use the sides of my palm and push it back down. It feels a little bumpy underneath my hand, but that's okay. The clay is getting nicely centered and all the particles are getting in the same direction. I'm going to cone it up and then squish it back down. And one more time just to get it really nicely centered. The more times you do it, it's like wedging the clay. It's waking it up. It's getting it ready to use. All right. So once I have centered it, the next thing I'm going to do is open it up. I'm going to make a coffee mug out of these, so I'm going to find my center. If my fingers are dancing around, that's not where the center is of the top of the hump. I'm going to put a little divot down. Now because I've got long fingernails, I use a sponge and push it down. When I'm pushing it down, I've got my elbow braced into my thigh and I've got my arms rest on the side of the splash pan. That if my elbows are up like this, my hands are going to swing all over the place. So I want to keep my hands down. I'm going to push it down. So when I'm opening, however big my base is, because it's all about the base, is how big my cup is going to be. I like my cups to be about 4 inches on the bottom. So I'm going to open it out. When I'm opening it out, I'm pushing the clay parallel, and I'm holding it with this hand so the clay doesn't flop over. And I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to use my rib, and I'm going to compress the bottom. So that way all of my mugs are consistent. I like them all to look the same. That way everyone knows that I made them. So the next thing, I've centered it, I've opened it, now I'm going to pull it. When I pull the walls, I'm using my finger and I'm using my sponge because I've got long fingernails. I'm keeping my hands together and I'm pulling it parallel. I don't want to pinch the top. I don't want mountaintops because that's going to give me a really weak rim and it'll probably break. When I'm pulling my walls, I'm either pulling it straight up and down or into a cone. I don't want to start having the rims go out because then the walls will flop over. Give that one more pull. I think I like my coffee cups to be just a little bit taller than that. So I'm grabbing the clay from the bottom and I'm pulling them up. If my hands are not wet, the clay is going to grab to my hands and you'll be able to feel this jug, 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 jug So I think that's a pretty good height. I think I want to collar it in just a little bit. When I'm collaring it in, I've got my fingers are together and my fingers are wet. And you can see they raise up a little bit. Okay. So I think that's a pretty good size for a coffee cup. I'm going to smooth the outside, smooth the inside. All right, so I think that's the size that I want for my coffee cup. So then I'm going to use my rib and smooth out my edges. Again, my rim, I'm going to keep my rim. I don't want to pinch my rim. I'm going to run my sponge over the top of it just to even it out. And then I'm going to trim the fat. So I'm going to give it a nice shape. By trimming the fat off the bottom of the clay, off the bottom of the cup, it'll make it feel nicer in the hand. Trim that up just a little bit. Set my wheel down. Okay. And then what I'll do, once these stiffen up a little bit, is I'll trim the foot. I want to make sure there's no water sitting inside my cup, otherwise it'll cause my cup to break. All right, now go try that on your own. Thanks for watching.